Family. It's 8 o'clock. Y'all know what time it is. Time to talk. First of all, first and foremost, again, I appreciate you being here. Thank you for being here. It's another wonderful week ahead. And big shout out to all the sponsors, RST Automation, Bright Star Apparel for always making me look, my drip still good. Calzura, always a friend of the family. Pure Process, and always a friend of the family. And you know why? Time to talk. Still available on all platforms. Get your copy on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere books are sold, and we are there. Um, whew. The week is now reset. We are a week removed from our conference. And did you see all the innovations that they had out there? Do you see all the new things that were coming for the industry? What did you think? Was it what you're expecting when people talked about, the AI this and AI that? Did these new innovations get you to thinking about how they could help your facility? Or did they get you to be like, hey, they're just trying to make stuff that'll take our jobs? This is what we're going to debunk some of that today, because in one of the presentations, they talked about how AI can be incorporated to help us. But people still have the skepticism about, is that truly what it's about? So I wanted to talk today about what these innovations can do for our industry, what is out there that is being currently used in some facilities, and what are the advantages, and I mean, even if we can touch on some of the disadvantages of what does that AI look like? What does that AI mean for the sterile processing person? I've had the pleasure of, actually working with some systems and, you know, experimenting firsthand and seeing what that does as far as, from a director standpoint. Does it help my productivity? Is my efficiency better? What is the return on investment of what I've invested in these products? And, I have formed my own opinions, but those are mine. After listening to, the professionals talk about their products and how the innovation can come about into the industry and help, I want you to formulate your own ideas. And, I'm not saying, by no means, I don't want anybody to think I'm pushing AI off on anybody. What I'm saying is, if we're headed in an age where that innovation is going to be a part of our everyday life, what or how should we frame it to say it helps or it's not for me? If you haven't tried it, you haven't tested it, you haven't even experimented with it, maybe even just got a demo, have you put yourself in a position where you can literally say, you know what, I tried it, I do see the benefits, however, my facility won't allow this? Or, hey, I can put that in my budget for next year and make sure that we have the latest and greatest of, turning my SPD into the next best department out there. That's what I want you to put in your mindsets when you're listening to this next presentation about how automation, how innovation is here to stay, and what can it do for your department. As I always say, as I was walking around the conference room floor, I objectively looked at the different products and said, can this help my department? And how and what benefit will it be to my techs? That's what I had to look at, because I'm forward thinking of what's the next best thing for SPD. It wasn't about, I'm going to lose positions. It wasn't about, oh, we don't have the money. It's budget season. Can I justify having this piece of equipment? So I had to look at it from that way. I checked out a bunch of different vendors. I, requested quotes. I looked at videos and all of these different things. And what the main concept of what I saw was, we are evolving as an industry, and it is something that we can't stop. It's going to happen. How do we get ahead of it? How do we become a part of it? And that's what I wanted to talk about today. So as I always do, I started thinking to myself, hey, who can I bring on here to help the industry, or, just help us see that not all AI is what people are thinking. Not all, jobs are going to be lost and the robots are taking over. It's not that. It's, how can we work together to make sure that we are providing the best possible product for our industry, still compliant to standards, and still putting the patient first. So, me being the resourceful person that I am, I looked around my department and said, "Hey, I actually have a vendor that I'm using something that I saw a couple of years ago, and my friend Braun, is just here from RST Automation, and he's here to say, what this change in this changing industry is going to look like." So, Braun, welcome to the show, my friend.
Kenneth, thank you so much, man. It's great to be here.
Hey, after many, many, many trials and trying to get us here, we are here. I've been talking about RST automation every week, and people are like, "What is that? What is that? What is that?" And I think a lot of people got to see you at conference, got to come through, see what that was about. But for those that weren't at conference and those who have never heard of RST automation, introduce yourself and what RST automation is, sir.
Happy to do it, Kenneth. So my name's Braun Kiess. I kind of handle all things sales and finance related over at RST. And RST Automation is just all about kind of bringing innovation to sterile processing. So we've been, trying to come up with better tools, right, for sterile processing technicians. Because, if you look at what we're doing in the department, right, it really hasn't changed much in the last 100 years. I mean, it's
Right,
all, it's all, the way we assemble a tray now, way most departments assemble a tray now is probably very similar to the way it was assembled, 100 years ago. And hey, we are in 2024. We do have a little more technology available now, so
right,
let's start to use it. And I think, you really touched on something in your intro, Kenneth. That I think was important is it's not about AI is coming to take over or the robots are taking over or any of that stuff. It's look, we need better tools, right? As sterile
right,
processing professionals, you need better tools to produce better outcomes for the patients, for the hospitals, right? For your customers, right, which are the operating rooms and the patients at the end of the day that are laying on the table there that right require these instruments to hopefully fix the issue that's going on.
right.
And what we see today, I think, is really a confluence of the best outcomes being man or woman and machine working together, right? There's things that there's things that people do well, and there's things that machines do well.
Right.
And today we get the best outcome by combining those two, right? By taking the things that the machines do well and combining with the things that the people do well. And ultimately what that allows is for the people part to become to allow them to focus on that, right? And not do the repetitive and sort of mind-numbing things that the machines can do, but instead do the things that are smart and require intelligence and dexterity and these types of things. Let the humans handle that and let the machines handle the things that humans shouldn't be doing to begin with, right? Or shouldn't have to worry about to begin with. So that's when I look at technology coming into it, it's not a matter of the machines are taken over. It's a matter of, hey, how do we get the best outcome here? How do we leverage the strengths of both the humans and the machines to produce the best outcome we can?
Okay, being from the sterile processing world, coming from the front line, I know the first thing people are going to say, well, I get all of that. That is innovation. I get that it's change. I get that it's all these things. But can innovation and automation truly improve efficiency at a rate that a normal, like say, human putting together? Like I said, the tray is the same way we put the tray together is how we put it together. But now that we've created things to help, that is an efficiency that much different from an automated version versus me doing it because I'm hands on. I know what I'm doing. How does that efficiency improve just because we saying we're going to use innovation?
Sure, yeah, and I think there's a couple of things we can talk about, and one is definitely efficiency, which I'll answer in a second. But also, I think what's first and foremost in our mind is really quality, right?
Okay.
It's really about getting the quality and the consistency in the product the sterile processing department makes, right? And the product that we manufacture for the operating rooms and for our clinics and for our customers, right? Getting that quality, getting that consistency, and and you can give me the best sterile processing technician in the world, and and if they do 1,000 trays, I guarantee you there's going to be errors, because it's not that
Okay.
they're bad techs. They're this is the best tech in the world, right? But they're just human. And I mean, it's we're humans, right? We're not machines. We can
Right.
be brilliant and we can know more than anyone else out there, but we're still going to make mistakes because we're human, right?
Right.
And so so that's something the machine's good at, is making sure we don't make that mistake, right?
Okay.
But to get back to the product, to the productivity, it can be pretty profound, right? So again, if you're and I think of it like this, right? Think of the productivity side of technology like this, right? If you're in the SPD, and let's say you were assembling trays let's just say you were assembling something in sterile processing with a screwdriver, right? And for the
Okay.
last 100 years, you've had to assemble this thing with a screwdriver, and it's got 100 screws in it. And and every this thing, new one comes on your workstation, and you turn those screws and you put the thing together, and with the screwdriver, and you complete it and you pass it off, and the next one comes and you turn those screws with the screwdriver and you put the whole thing together, and you complete it, and the next one comes. Well, now what if I just walked up and handed you a cordless power drill? Right? What does that do to your productivity? You just got a much better tool.
Right.
Right? I mean, you're still as necessary as you were before. Those screws aren't going to screw themselves in, right? But now, right, how much faster could I assemble something with a cordless power drill than I could with a screwdriver that has 100 screws in it?
Right.
So that's I mean, quite literally the type of productivity improvements we start to see. Especially if you think about, if you look at our peel pack system, right?
Right.
Peel pack system, the peel packing process is just again, depending on how bad or well yours is set up in the department, it's usually just a very disjointed sort of process that's cumbersome and frustrating for everybody involved. And you've got to figure out the instrument, you got to get the right size pouch. You may or may not have to cut it depending if it's a pre-made pouch or not. You may or may not have to cut it and seal it, and then go back to the workstation and print out the label and search for the instrument, right? And all this stuff, it's just it's cumbersome, it's clumsy, right? It's a process that's probably taking 3 to 5 minutes per pack, per peel pouch, and in the environment you're in. And you take our peel pack system and you just put it down, it auto recognizes it, it picks the right size, it cuts it to the right length, it seals it, it spits out the label. This all happens automatically, right? Seamlessly.
Okay.
And so you're talking about taking something from that's probably 3 to 5 minutes a pouch now, depending on if you're double pouching them or not. And
Okay.
I know that's a dirty word, and I don't want to, say you should be or shouldn't be double pouching, but let's face it, some of us out there do it.
Right.
And
Some
so
people
if you
still do.
are, or you're not, right, it's you're going to be somewhere on that probably 3 to 5 minute spectrum. And so now we're going to take that and we're going to cut that to under a minute, right?
Okay.
And so you start doing, if you're doing 100 peel packs a day, 200, 500. I mean, we were in a facility that was doing almost 1,000 peel packs a day the other day. The labor savings from that, we're talking something that's taking 3, 4 minutes a pack, and they're doing 1,000 of them a day, and we're going to drop that to under a minute. That starts to make a real difference. And not only that, it's now something that's not, that the technicians don't want to do, right? I mean, who wants peel pack duty? Nobody wants peel pack. No, nobody wants the peel pack assignment, right? Nobody wants to be
Right.
on peel packs. Now they want to be on peel packs because peel packs are easy. They're kind of fun. It's not the cumbersome, clumsy experience it was. And it's absolutely not that the technician's any less important than they were. It's the dexterity, honestly, and the intelligence in taking something and putting it in a pouch and sealing it and inspecting and testing it. These are things that are far beyond what what any sort of robot besides sci-fi land could cook up for us. So the human component is still very, very important.
And I
But
think that's
why
I
not?
think
Yeah,
I
sorry.
think I think that's the important part to touch on. I wanted to give a shout out. I saw Star and I saw Valerie. I saw Sharon. People are here looking, wanting to talk to us. But I think that's the important part when people are saying, "Well, we're just trying to make it smarter so that they take our jobs," and you just hit on it right there. The people component is still a very important piece because regardless, and I think that's where people miss the point. The inspection process, the testing process still has to happen. The machines make it easier.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And and it's a critical, when we think about what humans do well and what machines do well, well, humans again, the intelligence and dexterity to inspect and test an instrument, and to and to actually put it physically inside of a pouch. It's just something that requires a lot more a lot more talent and skill than you would think, right? Or that than you would ever think. I mean, as humans, we do it seamlessly and effortlessly every day. But when you try to mechanize something like that, it just doesn't work. Or to put the intelligence in to inspect something that's three-dimensional with nooks and crannies and crevices,
Right.
it becomes an impossible task. And but that's where the human is brilliant, right? Is brilliant.
Right.
When it comes to identifying an instrument, counting it, sorting it, making a pouch for it, these are things that machines can do simply and easily. And why bother? Why bog the human down with it? Why bother the human with it? Let the machine do that and worry about that, and let the human, do the task, do what they're best at, and let the machine do what they're best at.
Now, on that note, where for those people who watch a lot of these movies and they say, "Hey, we're just setting ourselves up for failure because AI learns and gets smarter," with these machines, is it capable? And I say capable of
Hmm.
learning, new instruments or learning the processes that we're doing. I get it. We're not going to learn or teach, the peel pack system how to put on, a gator clip or a tip protector. It's not
Right,
going to do that.
right,
But for people that are saying we're setting stuff in place to get rid of humans, are the machines
right.
capable of evolving to that? Say, hey, it didn't know this instrument before, but I put it up there. Now it knows this instrument. I think that's some stuff that people worry about. There's a lot of movies involved.
Yeah.
Believe me, there's a lot of movies involved.
Oh, sure, sure. Yeah. I mean, you watch movies with robots in them, and I still get a little scared by Terminator these days. But uh, the one with the red eyes is coming for me. But yeah, no. The reality is, we are a long, long way. I mean, before something was in, before something's inspecting, testing, and dexterously putting something in a package, we will all be in flying cars and living on Mars for 100 years. I mean, that's just the reality. And there would need to be power breakthroughs. There would have to be we would have to be in a 100 years from now. I don't know. Maybe maybe if it's even possible. It's something that they struggle with in robotics today, and it really will take some sort of, I think, fundamental science breakthrough to get this sort of energy. Because believe it or not, I mean, the amount of energy that it takes to power your body, I mean, we're amazing biological machines, right? There's nothing
Right.
that sort of can be powered like us. And so yeah, I can put a massively huge lithium ion battery in a car, and the car weighs 3 times as much as 4 times as much as a gas powered car, and I can make that work because of the scale of it. But to scale that down, it's just, I don't think we'll see that in our lifetime. And if we did, we'll probably be living in some sort of utopia where all labor is performed by robots and we live on Mars. And
Right. Right.
I just don't, I don't, it's just not technically feasible. Now, does AI learn? Yeah, right. It does. We do have machine learning. We do have AI that can actually learn something new. So we can, but it also requires the human to, I want to say teach it, but I mean teach it, right? To put it in learning mode,
Okay.
right? So to say, okay, I'm now going to teach you new things, and you load in the instruments, and it and you tell it, and you associate it, right? So you associate the image with the instrument, and it learns, it remembers that association, and then it sees variations. So the AI then will see variations of that association. So as you're giving it different instruments, every instrument, it might be the same instrument, different manufacturers. They look 99% the same, 98% the same, but there's slight variations. Not only that, the instruments, they get bent, they get sharpened, they get all this stuff. So it sort of has its knowledge, if you will. It has its database of instruments that it knows or that it recognizes, but then it sees a slight variation of that, right? And it's
Okay.
not sure, right? It's not sure. So what ends up happening with the AI is it has its baseline knowledge, if you will, but then when we go into a new facility and we're actually processing trays and we're processing instruments to be peel packed, it actually learns that instrumentation, right? It's the first time it's seeing this variant of that instrument, and the first time it sees it, depending on how bent it is or how misshapen it is, it may not it may not be confident that it knows what it is, in which case it asks the technician to confirm, to teach it, right?
Okay.
It doesn't know. It's going to ask the technician to say, yes, this is what it is, or no, this isn't what it is. And then it remembers that, right? And it sees, as it sees, and it's not just if you do that once, right? It's not just, so it's smarter than if you mistrained it once, it's not going to just remember that one instance. It sort of builds up a sort of complicated probability distribution, right? And it's sort of like us, we see a deer, or we see a reindeer, or we see a some variation of something that looks like a deer. Well, is it a deer, is it not? It starts to tell between, it looks for confirmation between the variations, but it still sort of recognizes generally what it is, right?
I think
And so that's sort of the level the AI is at right now, when it comes to machine vision and optical recognition.
okay. So I want to expound on that a little bit, but I'm going to do that right after this commercial. I have a question about that learning process of it. So let's go to commercial, and then when we come back, we'll talk about that. It's not learning on its own. It's actually asking us to help it learn. So it's not like one of those where we're taking over. We are actually giving it information. So after this commercial, let's talk about that a little bit more.
Hey, sounds great, Kenneth.
All right. Well, I thought we were going to. I bought that book. That gentleman actually is on to something.
Hey, we've got that book sitting on our coffee table in the office. So it's a good one. I'd recommend it.
So right before the break there, we were talking about, where people think that AI is taking over learning our jobs and so on and so forth. And you hit on, this is innovation where it's learning, but it is us providing that learning, so that it's still back to the original. How is it helping us with our efficiency and productivity? It's because we're giving it the tools to recognize certain things so that it can, make that decision on what size pill pack, or, does this need a double pill pack? Because it's stuff that we've taught the machine. So when you're doing these data analytics and you're getting deep into the, that thought process of how would this help our industry? How do you use that data to come up with whatever formula this is to help us in sterile processing?
Yeah, sure. So, and I just kind of was thinking of an interesting analogy, right? So we were talking about the screwdriver before, right? And how really, technology and AI and machine vision and all these, all these wonderful things are really, they're better tools, right? They're better tools for humans to use to get better outcomes. And we talked about the screwdriver, right, versus the power drill. Well, now, so now you have a better tool, right? And I think the peel pack system itself is that, or the tray assembly is that better tool, right? It's just a faster, more efficient tool. But now we add AI, okay, and now we give it a little bit of intelligence. So now it's like you've got a cordless drill, but the cordless drill, as you're putting it up to the screw, automatically recognizes what type of screw it is, right? Whether it's a standard or a Phillips head or whatever, and what size it is, and it puts the right bit on, right, as you're sort of going in to screw it, right? I mean, I actually kind of wish that drill existed. So you no longer have to, right, figure out, oh, okay, I need a standard, I need a Phillips head, oh, I need this, I need this number 8, number 6, right, this size, right? It would just do that automatically. That would be AI, right? That would be something that AI would be capable of figuring out, visually. But it doesn't make the operator of that cordless drill any less important.
Right.
Yeah, right. I mean, what's fundamentally going on in the operator of that cordless drill is still being the operator of that cordless drill. You just have, you go from the screwdriver to the cordless drill. You go from the cordless drill to the cordless drill that automatically puts the right bit on for you. You're getting a better tool, right? You're given a better tool. It's going to make you more productive, and it's going to make sure you're not stripping out screws,
So,
right? Because you got the wrong size bit head on. So that, I think, is the right, is maybe the right analogy for this type of scenario. Now back to the data, right? Because you were asking.
Right.
Right.
I mean, I was gonna say one thing real quick. I want to
Yeah.
touch on it before you get away from it, because I know Arlene is here in the room. So I want to bring up this point. I heard you say no errors.
Yeah.
So as you said, we are human, and we are
For better or
prone
worse,
to,
I think for
we're,
better, but
we're
undeniably
prone to
human.
errors. So
Yeah.
you're telling me that with the innovation that y'all have created, the data has stated that as long as we're utilizing the machine properly,
Hmm.
there would be no errors across any trays.
Yeah, and I mean, you hate to say never because there's always, never's always never till it happens. But there is, I mean, we will make it a Six Sigma process. I know you're a Six Sigma black, Lean Six
Yes.
Sigma black belt, right, Ken? So I know you probably have an appreciation for this type of data, right? The type of data we get out of these systems. I mean, not only is the process, the quality and the productivity fantastic, but the type of data we receive, especially out of the tray assembly system, is really it's first of its kind. It's first in class. It's data that's never really been available to managers before, or to technicians for that matter, right?
Okay.
To know how good you're doing, how bad you're doing. What we find, the flaws in the data we find right now for productivity, for example, in a sterile processing department, really lie in the fact in that whatever instrument tracking software you're using, whether it's SensaTrack or SPM or TDoc or whatever, and we interface with all those. So we're agnostic when it comes to instrument management systems. So we'll interface with any of them,
Okay.
happily. But the flaw in the data that those systems generally produce is that they're relying on the technician to scan the tray in and scan the tray out, and a lot
Okay.
of times for whatever reasons that doesn't happen very accurately, right? So the production data you get is and sort of as far as time assembly trays is flawed. Um, that goes away. So we know accurate start times, we know accurate end times. Not only do we know accurate tray assembly times, but we know not only how long it actually took to assemble that tray, we know how long it took to process every single instrument in that tray. So we actually get down to a very granular Six Sigma type level of data where we can, we have an abundance of data that's accurate and that's granular to a level that's never before been seen. And we can slice and dice that, a million different ways. So, right, by trade type, by technician, by shift, by, and not only that, we can look into the data for even more insight, right? So, going beyond just productivity, we've actually had some facilities that have used, one of the things we'll do is if a technician has to quit a tray, right? Why? And why they're quitting that tray. And so we start to capture that. And then we've had facilities that have actually gone and changed processes in decontam, right?
Right.
As it turns out, this tray, these instruments in this tray were always just coming out dirty and they had to be sent back, right? And that never got captured before, and then it was, and that's made them realize, okay, hey, let's process these different on the decontam side and get rid of this, right, on the assembly side, and it ends up making the data ultimately ends up making a huge difference.
So I think for people who are listening and they're skeptical or whatnot, so to bring back your point in decon, I don't want to say in decon, let me say this. So you're saying that the productivity and efficiency changes because we're using the innovation.
Yeah.
However, if I'm still doing all my testing, I'm still doing my inspections, how much time do I really save by using? And I'm jumping to the tray assembly now. How much time do I really save by using the tray assembly if I still have to do all those other steps, which you should be doing anyway? Let me just throw that out there. I'm not
Yeah.
saying we're skipping steps, but if I'm still inspecting, I'm still testing, how much time am I really saving?
So we'll go from easy to more complicated here, maybe. So let's start with peel pack, right? Peel pack, it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to say, if you're peel packing an instrument right now, depending on how good your setup is at your facility, it's probably going to take you, and if you're double pouching it or not, it's going to take you somewhere between 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay.
Is what we've observed. Not data you can get out of any system, but just watching security camera footage in departments, right?
Okay.
And watching a lot of it and sort of taking an average, right? Uh, Call it 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes if you want, right? I'd say
Okay.
we haven't seen that fast as I've seen is three, but call it, and obviously if you're doing multiple quantities of the same instrument, that time drops, but it also drops on our side too, right? So let's
Okay.
just take, let's say those two equal each other out, right? You're doing multiple quantities, it's faster on both sides, okay? let's just say you're doing a random assortment of instruments, right? You need to peel pack a random assortment of instruments. I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Heck, maybe I'll give you 2.5 or 2 if you want. With our system, that's going to drop to under a minute. I mean, we'll just round it up to a minute, right? So you're looking
Okay.
at least a 50%, probably a 70, to 80%, increase in productivity. Again, depending on how good your process is now, it could be 4 minutes. We may be talking about going from 4 minutes of peel pack to under a minute, right? And so, so you start doing any volume, you can start to see, the labor savings pretty quickly. Not only that, you combine it with the quality, the fact that you're always going to get the right size pouch. It's the same size pouch. It's cut to the right length. There's no wasted material. It's got the right label on it every time. Quality is certainly a component there too. If we go over to tray assembly, if you look at, so again, we look at things really on an instrument level because
Yeah.
we're able to track things on an instrument level. And so it's not about number of trays assembled, right? How many trays you're producing. I mean, I think we all know there's a huge difference between assembling a 30 instrument tray and assembling a 150 instrument tray,
Yes.
right? So the complexity of the tray matters. Obviously, the number of instruments in the tray matters, and how often it's done honestly matters too. If it's a tray that you only see a few times a year, well, that actually becomes a kind of a hard tray. Like the 150 instrument tray that's processed all the time, it becomes equally hard because it's not seen or done very often or by very many people. So it's sort of, you sort of have the opposite issue, right? But either way, what we find productivity wise is that most technicians right now, most facilities are probably processing instruments somewhere between 20 to 30 seconds an instrument. Okay, is the productivity you're currently getting out of your techs.
Okay.
We set as a benchmark on our systems 10 seconds an instrument. So that's sort of the benchmark we set. The system will actually process instruments at the rate of about 3 seconds, 2 or 3 seconds an instrument, but that doesn't allow any time for inspection and testing, right? So you want to have adequate time for inspecting and testing of each instrument, which are individually handled on
Right.
our system, by the way. So they're fed individually, which means they're inspected and tested individually, which doesn't always happen otherwise. So I think it's a better process, quality, better structured process in general, we'll say. But so we're getting 10 seconds as a benchmark. If you're 3 seconds to process it, but no time for inspection and testing. So if you put in time for inspection and testing, a comfortable pace, we get that 10-second an instrument benchmark. So if you
Okay.
give me now the other thing we also get rid of is we get rid of the pre-sorting. So no longer most techs, when they're assembling a tray, right, they take the tray instruments, they dump it out on the workstation, and they pre-sort them. And we'll usually spend about 5 minutes, actually, 4 or 5 minutes pre-sorting the instruments, especially on a larger tray. That pre-sorting isn't required at all anymore. And it's a hard habit to break, honestly, with old techs. But you don't have to pre-sort them anymore. You can just randomly start feeding them in, right? You can randomly start feeding them in, and no pre-sorting required, right? So there's time saved there. There's time saved on the actual processing of the instrument, and there's a lot of time saved too on the missing instrument side. So what happens right now usually is technicians, when they're assembling a tray, which by the way, a lot of times they're keeping the count in their head, right?
Right.
On the count sheet, the experienced techs anyway, we're not checking off the instruments one at a time on the screen. Instead, we're keeping the tray count in our head. We realize we're missing something. We leave the workstation, we go get it, we come back, keep doing the tray, realize we're missing something else, we go get it, we come back, right? That process is very different with tray assembly. So now, missing instruments, when you get to the end of when you've processed all the instruments, if the tray is not complete, you're missing some, you can just hit a button and it'll tell you exactly what's missing, and you can just print out what's missing on a little list, literally on a little receipt printer on the top, and go get them all in one shot. So that's, all those things, the missing instrument retrieval, the pre-sorting, all these things are what add up to sort of that 20 to 30 second per instrument productivity that you're probably getting now versus 10 seconds. If you get a technician that's, running spot on, and we've had some techs that do this, they're just, they're there, right? They're in sync with their machine. They're running at 7 seconds an instrument. That's optimal. And in fact, the interesting thing is, if you look at the data, you actually want to sort it by, you can sort it by, of course, if someone's taking a lot longer than 10 seconds to instrument, and usually, honestly, it takes about a month or two. It'll take a tech about a month or two. You'll see it in the data. They'll ramp down from about 20 or 25 seconds instrument on the machine to 10 over the period of a couple months. It's just getting used to the mechanics and sort of operating the machine. Most people, when they see it work, when they first start using it, they watch it. They put an instrument in and they stop and they watch the machine, right? And then they get the next instrument, and then they watch it because they can't. Right, they're just sort of taking in what it's doing.
Right? Shamir says that's the feature that she likes the most, and I will say, just from watching it in action, to say that it keeps place of everything that's missing, so that even if you get the items that are missing in random order, it puts it where it needs to be. I do think that feature is the one I like the most because it's like you really just don't have to do it in order anymore. And I think that is where I will admit to that part of, the speech is that you're right. It does save time in that sense. I do have a standards question when I come right after this commercial. We're going to take a quick commercial, but after this, I do have a standards question that I wanted to throw out you about what this innovation does. So far, peel pack system sounds great. Tray system sounds great. Hey, if you're out there, you're listening, and you got any questions, pop them in the box, because I know everybody got to be thinking the same thing about these systems and the efficiency and productivity. So let's put Braun on the hot seat. Throw me a question. Let me ask him real quick. But we're going to ask him those questions right after this commercial.
About celebrating healthcare. If you're in the healthcare field, no matter where you work, we celebrate you.
I've said this and I've said this. I know you saw the commercial. If you know somebody that wears scrubs, that needs that recognition, those are your unsung heroes. Go to scrubball.org. Nominate that person today. Nominate your healthcare heroes. Scrubball celebrates anybody who wears scrub, not just in the sterile processing arena. Anybody out there who's in healthcare that you feel need that recognition, nominate them. Also, you saw RST again. We've been sitting here talking to Braun, and he's been, wowing us over with this information about the efficiency.
I'll take that. Before we go any further, though, Kenneth, I got to say, I'm wowed by your background. Your background, so this one's fake, by the way. That's not my piano back there. I can guarantee you. Your background's so much cooler. I see that portrait back there. You're looking sharp, my man.
That's my co-host, by the way. My co-host is always here every week. I got one person here. Hi, Curtis. How are you doing, sir? Thank you for joining us. Real time. Like, again, if you have questions about the system, Braun is with RST, and you have a question, let's get it out there. Valerie says, save time with newer technicians or volunteers. The AIM tray assembly helps them identify instruments at a faster rate. Something I was going to touch on for my next question was, when we're talking standards and we're talking training and we're talking, especially what she said, new techs, how does this system help us with that training aspect? Because I know that was one of the components that we talked about is if you have a new tech, you can put that person over there and the system kind of trains them to learn instruments. How does that work in this scenario?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great benefit. I'm going to finish up one point because we had to cut to commercial when we were talking about processing time. So we were talking about how you have a tech that's, running at 7 seconds if they're spot on. The interesting thing is if you look at the data, right, there's sort of two conversations to have. There's one is if they're having, if instruments are taking a long time to process, and if so, why, right? The other side of that is if they're going too fast, right? If the tech's not taking the time they should to inspect and test the instrument, right? If you see a tech going at 4 seconds an instrument, well, I mean, that's great for productivity, but that's not great for quality. I know you're not inspecting and testing that instrument the way you should be. So we're going to have a different conversation about why you need to be doing the important human part of
No,
this right
but that
process
does
and getting in there.
But that does play into what you said though. Like if techs know
Yeah,
their instrument trays and they have this count sheet in their head and they're just looking and going, then will that still play a part of that time? Because I know we say it all the time, click it off as you go, make sure it was there, and so on
yeah,
and so forth. But we still have a bunch of techs in the industry that know the tray by heart. They're gonna put it
yeah,
together, then go to the screen and click, 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 click. So it
yeah,
does still make it look like they're
yeah.
faster than it seems. Now,
Right.
did they do the inspection? You know, and that would come down to if we get any quality concerns from the OR.
Yeah,
But in doing your inspection, doing your testing, is 7 seconds a reality in that
yeah,
scenario based on this using the system? Can 7 seconds be a reality with me testing my scissors, with
yeah.
me checking my instruments or my carisons and stuff like that? Is that still a reality?
It is, yeah, and we're going to use 10, right? We're going to use 10. I'd say if you had a tech that was totally dialed in, you're maybe going to see 7. If I see anything below 7, you're just not spending the time you need to assemble in this set. You're pumping it out, and you don't, and you're not taking the time you should, right? I mean, look, we all want productivity. We want to be fast, we want to be efficient, but we don't want to be fast and efficient at the expense of patient safety and trade and trade quality. And given those surgeons in the operating room the instruments they need that are functioning correctly and that are bioburden and contamination free, right? That's that's a very important part of what SPD does, is not just pump out a product as fast as it can. It's got to pump out a quality product, right?
Now, knowing techs are going to
For
look at
everybody.
this and say, "I'm faster without the machine."
Yeah.
I don't want to use the machine and then that's the struggle that you have, is trying to get people on the machine. If
Yeah.
you know for a fact that you think that you're faster than the machine, what is the
Again, it's
benefit of
not.
somebody using it? Hi, Harry.
Look,
How are you doing, sir?
hey, Harry, how are you? Look, it's not about speed. This isn't a race, right? It's not. Look, productivity matters, right? I mean,
Right,
we all want to be efficient, right? We all want to be productive, but not at the expense of quality.
right.
Right. And so SPD is about finding that balance of quality and efficiency that gives you the optimal outcome, right? And so our products sort of, help ensure that. And so but I want to leave that because you brought up a great point, which is, how does this help training? Right. Because I think a lot of sterile processing managers out there are sitting there and they're understaffed, right? They don't have the staff they wish they had. If they do have the staff they have, it may be a little greener than they wish it would be. They
Right.
experience a lot of turnover, right, in their department, and and if these things are going on, this is where I think, and we've seen this to a huge effect, and it's led to phenomenal growth here after COVID, especially because I think it was bad. Staffing issues were bad before COVID, right? Pre-COVID, there was staffing issues in SPD. Everybody knew it, but we held some hope. I
Right.
think we
Right.
all held some hope that these people were going to come into the job market, that we were going to fill these positions, and that one day it was all going to be better. After COVID, I think a lot of people realized, look, these positions we have, they're not getting filled. Not only that, we probably have more open now than we did, and we've got brand new techs, and they don't know the instrumentation. And so now you need to give them a preceptor, or give them 6 months to a year to sort of learn the instrumentation. Ours, I think what's really driven a lot of our growth recently is the appreciation facilities have for the staffing flexibility that our technology gives them.
Okay.
So with our technology, let's again take the easier example, peel pack for a second, right? You've got a technician that you usually wouldn't have do peel packs because they don't know all the instruments that need to be peel packed. So how can I have you do peel packs? Well, now guess what? You can, because they can rely on the technology to make sure it's the right, that the instrument's correctly identified and labeled, properly, right? I mean, they're always, of course, going to get the right size bag and the same size bag and all that stuff, and a lot faster than they normally would. But fundamentally, you can put somebody on peel packs that you normally could never have do that job if you need to.
Uh,
Let's
I,
let's go over
I,
the side.
Now
Go
I
ahead.
get that part. I get
Yep.
that part. However, let me ask this question for the managers and directors like myself that say, okay, I get what you're saying, but are they truly learning it? Just if the machine is doing the visualization and creating the peel pack, are they learning the instruments?
Right. Well, I mean, you'd like to think so. I mean, so we'll talk about tray assembly where I can say definitively. On peel pack, it's up to them. Do they want to be learning it or do they not? If they want to just kick back and let the machine do the heavy lifting on peel pack, that's an option, right? They don't have, I mean, it's telling them what the instrument is, right? So they are seeing the name of the instrument, they're seeing the information they need about that information on the screen. Whether they choose to internalize that or not, that's to some degree up to them. We hope they are, right?
So,
But if we go to tray assembly now, right, on tray
okay,
assembly, they put an instrument in, it's going to show them the name of the instrument on the screen, it's going to highlight that instrument on the count sheet, right? So again, do they want to internalize it? Do they not? I hope so. I hope they want to learn it. And I think if they want to learn, the systems are going to help them learn because it's going to tell them, right? It's just like standing next to a more experienced tech that's telling you, hey, this is what this is. This is what this is. This is what
I
this
guess
is,
that
right?
I guess that goes to Shamir's point. She says, so how do we use this and ensure that the staff are actually learning the instruments? As you
Right.
say for the tray assembly,
Assembly.
it's gonna give it the name, it's gonna give it the picture, it's gonna show it on the count sheet. So the repetition of it would be there, but
Yeah.
it comes back to what you said though, right? It's gonna
Yeah.
come down to
Do they want to
are they learning or
internalize
do they
that?
want to learn it, or are they gonna count on the machine to do everything?
Yeah, I mean, look, you can put that tech next to a human too, and the human's going to do the same thing the machine is. It's going to tell them what the instrument is, right?
Okay.
Hey, this is it. This. Do they want to learn that? Do they want to internalize it? Hopefully, the cool thing with tray assembly is that it doesn't have to be in auto recognition mode, right? So if
Okay.
you put tray assembly, you can put into training mode, and if you put the system in training mode, it doesn't automatically ID the instrument. Instead, what it does is it gives the technician 4 choices as to what they think the instrument is, and then it keeps track of the scores, right?
Okay.
And
See.
so, from an educator's perspective, right, I can use this now purely as a training tool if I want, and see hopefully the technician scores improving over time, right? So, um, so that's that I think is really a nice,
That's what
um,
Harry just
yeah,
said. He said
well, yeah,
originally he said that over time using the
yeah,
system they will learn the instruments, and then he came back to say, so then we got to periodically take the system away from them so to see if they learn it. That's the test for them. But that training mode does seem like it gives them like the managers or the trainers can use the education of people like Harry can actually say, all right, let me test your knowledge of what you have learned. And at the
right,
same time, it's still putting the tray together.
right,
He
and
said, "I
and
did not know you could do that. That is great." So
yeah,
that
yeah,
training mode,
it's a cool feature. The training mode, the peel packs, and we could theoretically, I think, put that actually training mode on the peel pack system too. Right now, it only exists on the tray assembly system, but it's a cool feature.
okay. So that gets us to if they're gonna learn it, it's gonna be on them to learn it. But there are kind of fail safes to say, are they learning it? So that does matter.
Yeah,
A
yep.
question from Knowledge of Nonsense says, does it include all specialties? So can any tray be done on the tray assembly station?
The answer to that is no. It's our technology is really good at what we would call the knives and forks and spoons in the department. Your major baskets, your minor baskets, your DNC sets, things, things like that, right? Trays that look like that. Okay. On the tray assembly side, and it's a little different between the two products. It's a little different between tray assembly and peel pack and storage. So on the tray assembly side, what we find, for example, is like vascular sets, right? Vascular sets have instruments that are really, really curved. So one of the things the tray assembly system does is it assembles the stringer for the technician, right? So the technician can feed in all the instruments, all the strung instruments randomly into the system. It's going to put them in the correct order, and it's going to build that stringer for the techs, right? Which is a nice thing, right? When the instruments, but there's a mechanism that sort of does that. It's what we call a catch release mechanism going into what we call the collator underneath the conveyor belt that's indexing back and forth. And so So when you get into like vascular sets, the instruments become too curved to really go through that mechanism well. So vascular sets, same thing if you get into eye, optical. If there's if you have sets that have very very small differences, right? So for example, the system can recognize a curette, but it won't know the difference between a 000 and a 00, right? It won't know the difference between a sharp or a blunt, right? So when you get to very, very minute details, the system's not good at that. Okay.
So like an
So
active with teeth versus active smooth.
yeah, yep, exactly. It wouldn't be able to tell that difference, right? So what'll happen is it'll recognize the absence, right? It'll recognize that, but then it'll ask the technician to confirm, is it smooth or is it, is this a sharp or is this a blunt, right? Is this a 000 or is this a 00,
So
right?
that goes with what Shamir said, is that seems like it's great, but at the end of the day, it will still need some oversight.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, this isn't something you just throw a pile of instruments in and all of a sudden
Right, 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 right.
you get an assembled tray out. It takes a technician, just like going back to that power drill example, right? Going back to that, look, you had a screwdriver. I just gave you a cordless power drill. Now I just gave you a cordless power drill with some intelligence that automatically selects right screw. You still need to be the human driving this thing, or the tool just sits there. It doesn't do
So,
anything, right?
so a
So,
question from one of our listeners, real quick. I just want to touch on this before we
yeah.
keep going. It says, for a facility who has a high orthopedic surgeries, how is this a helpful process?
Oh, so orthopedics are something we do a lot of. So actually, one of our first and biggest customers is HSS. We're based out of the Bronx, so they're right across the river from us, and they've been a wonderful development partner. So Hospital for Special Surgery is obviously an orthopedics hospital, and we do, they have 3 of our tray assembly systems, peel pack. They have all of our technology, and they use it every day, and they rely on it every day. And I think any of the Mo, the current sterile processing director, Rich, Corey, they would all, agree that they rely on that technology every day, I think. And it's, and so we do it, right? We do, in an orthopedic setting, I would say in a normal facility with an average mix of surgeries and specialties going on, we would probably process about 60% of the instruments, of the volume, I'll say, because what we do is we do, again, like those major baskets, those minor baskets, those DNC sets, right? Those knees, those foot, those ankle trays, right? We're doing those trays, and they end up being the ones that are used, right? Major and minor baskets, they end up being the ones that are used in every surgery. So when we look at it as a percentage of volume, right,
Okay.
we'll say we're going to process probably about 60% of the volume of trays or of instruments going through, right, the facility. If you look at orthopedics, so if we look at a hospital like HSS, we're probably going to do 40%, not 60% of that tray volume. So, for example, if they'll ultimately get to, they have, let's say 14 workstations, they'll probably end up with tray assembly at 5. They have at 3 workstations now. They'll probably ultimately end up with it at 5. To handle the volume of trays that we can do well, right, on our system.
Well, that goes back to, so that would go back to my original question, or to the question from Sips, is so if it doesn't recognize all specialties, the ortho trays won't be able to go through. You're saying that the system helps by doing all of your ancillary trays and leaving time for the other trays to be done by the techs.
Oh, it'll do. I mean, we do hand baskets, we do knee baskets, we do major baskets, minor baskets. We do orthopedic trays. We just do a smaller, just a smaller percentage of, instead of 60% of the baskets being a good fit, 40% of the baskets are going to be a good fit in an orthopedic setting.
Okay.
But I mean, we're still looking at, you could offload potentially half of your tray assembly, right, to the technology.
I think that's where people get that want to get that understanding is, can we do every tray on there? You said not exactly, because of the vascular stuff that's curved and have to turn the corner. So that kind of stuff, no. Yeah. But if it's a regular ortho tray, and I guess what the person was alluding to is we do a lot of attunes, or we do all of these other trays. Will it recognize those pieces if it's trained to do so that it can still be faster? Or is it just the trays that belong to the hospital, like you said, the majors, the minors, the regulars, the GYNs, and things like that.
Yep. The GYN sets, absolutely. We don't really do loaner trays right now. So it's, loaner trays aren't really a good fit. Again, it's the knives and forks and spoons in the department that we're really good at on the tray assembly side. Peel pack side, different story. Peel pack
Okay.
side, it'll it doesn't matter how curved the instrument is, it'll recognize it. It's not going through a catch release mechanism to build a stringer. It's just IDing it to select the right size peel pack to make. So on the peel pack side, fewer issues, right?
Okay.
We can peel pack just about any instrument you would put right through there, including, even if it's too big to fit on the vision recognition service, you could just manually search for it, right? A lot of facilities are doing Da Vinci arms and things like that. We just put shortcuts right on the touch screen, to those, so you can really quickly and easily grab them. And you can always manually search for, whatever it is too. So yeah, on the peel pack side, we don't have as much of a limitation as we do on the tray assembly side when it comes to, the number of instruments we can do.
Okay, so just so I can, recap for everybody in the room, we're talking increased productivity, increased efficiency, and the
Increased
ability
quality.
for the quality, just and the learning ability of the machines to adapt to whatever may be a part of your system. I
Yeah.
want to just touch on what Harry's saying. He said, in other words, the general instruments used in ortho cases can be done, just not the specialty items like reamers and such.
Yep.
Okay,
That
just but they
yep, that
wanted
makes sense.
clarity on that, just for
And,
that.
and what we would do generally is we'd go in and just look at your tray, send me your, the trays you've processed over the last 30 days, 60 days, quarter, whatever. We'll look through those and we can immediately recognize, what count sheets or what trays are going to be based on the count sheets, what trays are going to be a good fit, and what trays aren't. And when it comes to the benefits, yeah, I think you hit it, Kenneth. It's quality, number one, right? Making sure you've got 100% complete trays 100% of the time, right?
Okay.
It's not going to fix every problem in a tray, but when it comes to missing instruments, incomplete, incorrect instruments, missing instruments, incorrect stringer order, those three categories it'll eliminate. Peel pack, when it comes to making sure you got the right size pouch, it's the same size every time, it's correctly labeled every time, right? It's going to do that consistently for you. So we're talking quality, we're talking productivity, right?
Okay.
Making things a lot more efficient. We're talking staffing flexibility. So being
Yes.
able to take new techs, get them productive while they're learning, being able to rotate, right, new techs into jobs they may not, have been able to do before, right, while being productive. And then we're talking about, right, data. We're talking about first of kind data production on the production side, first in class, accurate tray assembly times to the instrument level, allowing you to really do a Six Sigma type process if you wanted to, Ken, which I'm hoping
Right.
you're going to get into there up in Berkshire, is that using all this great data, you can really drive a Six Sigma type process with the type of data, our systems are able to produce. So,
And like to your point, Harry says, like, although unfortunate, the COVID was a good thing in the sense that it really brought to attention the staff shortages in SPD, which led to things like this. Like, we have tools now that can assist us with some of that training and helping us get through those staffing shortages. So
absolutely. It was a tough couple of years. There wasn't much going on there, as far as us working with hospitals for a couple of years. But Harry, you're absolutely right. It did drive the awareness of, look, we need technology. We're not going to get this labor. This labor is not coming back into the market. The solution is, let's use technology to increase productivity and increase quality. And that was a paradigm shift that we saw after COVID. That wasn't necessarily there as pronounced, right? Technology was starting to creep in, but it wasn't quite, after COVID. We've just been growing like crazy, which is
all right. So last question before I let you go, my good friend. Harry said, can you eventually teach or program the system to identify more of those specialty instruments, such as the ones we said, that the reamers and things like that? Will it eventually get there?
Yep, we can. I mean, the AI is getting better every day. The optics are getting better every day, right? The cameras we have access to, the AI technology, all of that's increasing exponentially. So I think, it gets better every day, and we'll absolutely get there. And there's a lot we can do this year that we couldn't do last year, for example.
Right.
So that universe is rapidly expanding, and obviously we'd love to work with you, customers on that stuff. So
Hey, family, there you have it. Braun has broken down the AIM pill pack assembly station and the AIM instrument tray assembly station for us to let us know that, hey, this innovation is our friend. He just taught, like Harry said, he didn't know certain features. We learned about that tonight. Like Shamir said, the training mode. Hey, as long as we have the oversight over it, we can actually make sure that people are trying to learn these instruments. Uh, that is, look, Brian, you got to see all right there. Harry said he
Hey,
wants the
Harry,
part two. There you go.
we'll hook you up. We can do some special pricing for us, for an educational setting.
So
Reach
just
out.
learning those type of things that we didn't know before, like the teaching mode, the training mode, uh, being able to teach it instruments that you don't have immediately. These are things that RST brings to your facility to try to help you become more efficient, become more productive, and again, focus in on that quality. Brian, I always ask this question before we leave the group. Is there, if people are contemplating RST or any of this innovation,
Mhm.
what would you encourage them to, what would you say to them at this very moment?
I'd say reach out, right? I mean, like you said, I think at the beginning, Kenneth, give it a look, right? It's worth a look, seeing what it can do for you. Maybe it's a fit, maybe it's not, but it doesn't hurt, doesn't cost you anything to take a look. We're happy to come in. We can do a live web demo of any of our systems, right over the internet, just like we're talking right now. We can demonstrate any of these systems and technologies for you. If we're happy to do it in person too, if necessary, and we can really quickly and easily build you a business case specific to your facility as to why these systems are a great investment. And so if you're thinking about it and you're not sure, just reach out. It doesn't cost anything. It's free to get a quote, it's free to get a demo, and let's see if it's a good fit for you or not.
Hey, there you have it. And I dare say, hey, look, their customer service is 24/7, 365 days a year.
Kenneth's
Like,
got my cell number.
you can't
He's,
go, hey, you
yeah,
can't go wrong with somebody who's always available for you.
we're
But
always
no,
here.
on a serious note, definitely, like he said, if you are thinking about it, ask for that demonstration, ask for that in person if you need it, just so that you can see what it potentially could do for you. When I was contemplating it, they did actually, like he said, a Teams meeting, and we got to do a demo live for my C-suite and my staff just
Mhm.
to see, hey, this is what's coming, this is what the potential is, and now we do have one of each of the systems in our facility. But
Yeah, and that's another thing. We can connect you with customers like Kenneth here that that use them, that love them. And if you go on our website rstautomation.com, you can request a demo, request a quote, request anything you need right through there, and I'll be giving you a call.
hey, there we go. Family, as always, it's been a time to talk. Thank you to RST for coming through and educating the people, giving them something to look forward to, or potentially reach out and become a customer like myself. I appreciate you all. Brian, thank you, my friend.
Hey, thank you, Kenneth. Look forward to seeing you again soon, man.
All right, family. Next week, same time, same place. This has been a time to talk. I appreciate you. Thank you. And I'll see you soon. Thank you, Brian. She always does this to me.
Hey, it's okay.
Thank you, Harry. Thank you, Shamir.
Yeah, hey, thanks, Harry. Reach out.